Don't leave, Bob. Please don't leave.
Bobby.
Our very own Slick Rick Bucher has an article on FoxSports.com about this topic, should the Warriors rebuild, so go check that out after the show, of course. But let's start with Shady, because this is your team.
Is it?
Yeah.
You know one of many.
Is the Warriors Warriors dynasty over?
Before I answer this question, Slick.
Yes.
Should I read your take on if it's the breakup?
Yes.
Is there some hating in it?
Not for me.
Okay, I might read
Just facts. That's all we do.
I'm gonna say no, right? I think Steph Curry is still Steph Curry. I think Steve Kerr is still Steve Kerr. I think he's a hell of a coach. That formula that Bonnie have with Draymond, Clay, and Steph. I've seen a report that they talked about if Clay would come back, he would have to take a pay cut. And I think Clay's that type of player where, hey, he knows that he hasn't been playing up to his capabilities and maybe from injury, whatever it may be. I think he may take a pay cut to be back with his brothers. Draymond Green, one thing about him is he's all about the team. I read also Steve Kerr said, we cannot compete for a championship if Draymond Green's not on the team. So if Draymond Green is locked in, which I see him on this podcast, talks every day, playoffs or no playoffs, he's on that podcast talking, he's saying he wants to be back. Our dynasty is still there. The biggest piece, though, is Poole. Are we going to get the more mature Poole they got to win the championship against Boston, or are we going to get the Poole that we've seen this year? I think we talk so much about the punch in the face. Right now, granted, if a teammate punched me in my face, I'll probably be upset. I don't know if I think eventually I'd have got over it because we got an ultimate goal to get a championship, and they tasted that before. So if we can kind of get Poole back on track, let's put this thing behind us. Let's get back to playing Warrior defense, playing Warrior basketball. I think the dynasty is still there. I don't know. I mean, we are the Warriors.
Cat?
We are the Warriors. You know, I don't think so. I don't think it's over. You know, what Steve said, you know, Draymond, I think they have more in them. And I think Clay, you think about it, when Clay came back that one year, his legs were a little dead. And then last year, they won the championship. He's a two-way player. That takes a lot of energy out of you. I would say now you have about 5 months, Slick, now to get yourself back into that mode. Working on the way technology is, the way these doctors are, the way it's so much that he can work on his legs and build that endurance. So he's that catch and shoot plus play D guy like he was before. Because I don't care who you are, when you got a jump shot, you could play for a long time.
That's true.
But working on the lower part of your body, to me, the longevity will last. I mean, give Clay give him this summer and then talk about that. Because when you have a Draymond Green, a Klay Thompson, a Steph Curry, and a Steve Kerr, you ain't gonna get too much better than that. I'm talking about the IQ, the way you're playing. You're not gonna get too much better.
And the experience.
It's just too. It's too good. It's too good for me.
There's being able to play, and then there's being able to play at a championship level. And to your point, I had, and this is in the piece, there was a scout, and I actually noticed it when it comes to Klay Thompson and his legs. I was in the stands, in the media seats in the Chase Center, and my family was just below me. And
one leg smaller than the other.
If you look at his right calf, from those seats, you can visibly see the difference. And I had a scout tell me the same thing. He said, watch him in his warm-ups. He never lands solely on that leg. So there is the potential of doing some rehab and regaining that. But he didn't do any work last summer, and I don't know why. But he didn't. He came in, and Steve Kerr kind of referred to it, he came in out of shape. For whatever reason.
He's probably never out of shape. The much running he does around.
Exactly. So I actually feel like the dynasty has been over and that they pulled one back last year. They found a way to gather the troops for one more run and win one, as opposed to that now we've turned the corner and things have ended. Because it's not just, what was their original slogan? It was strength in numbers, right? It's not just that Clay isn't quite the same and Dre isn't quite the same. It's Andre Iguodala, nowhere to be found. Sean Livingston, nowhere to be found.
Right. He's in the front office.
Yeah. And so those were big pieces of what they called the death lineup. Their defense isn't anywhere close to what it was. So
you're right.
And if you told me that there's a young Klay, if you told me that if I could look at Jordan Poole and go, well, that's the next Klay Thompson, then I might be with you. Or there's another Sean Livingston, or there's another Andre Iguodala coming off the bench. Like if I saw those guys where I go, you know what, these guys aren't the same, but they got some guys coming up behind them that are going to contribute.
And like a Poole.
Yes, like what they were supposed to be.
Right.
Then I would be with you that they can extend this. But these guys aren't quite the same. Steph is the exception. And I don't see the supporting cast that makes up for the difference.
I just think it's too soon to tell. I mean, they did win a championship last year. And like Shady always likes to remind us.
You say a couple months ago. You say that. Couple months ago, Slick.
Like Shady likes to remind us, it's very difficult to win championships. And it is. And that championship is a part of their dynasty. In fact, I think it is what actually solidified the term dynasty for their chapter.
Yeah, that's fair.
We've had people win 3 and certainly had people win 2. And when you have 4, you were a dynasty, whether that was the last one or not. So that's part of it. Everyone gets
winning 3 and going to 5, to going into the finals in 5 years, I think, to your point, this last one cemented it.
Yes, it's cemented it. For
But
sure.
I would have said even before that.
But people are dancing on, and they have tried to dance on the graves of the Warriors for some time now. I don't like to jump on the grave until the daisies have popped up. It's just way too soon for me. You can dig it all you want. That doesn't mean anything needs to go in there. And I think this last championship showed that. A lot happened this year that I think could potentially be fixed. Jordan Poole could go back to being the player he was in the postseason. Potentially. Yeah. Maybe not. But the potential is there. Wiggins could have a better year than he had this year because he had a lot going on this year. Those are 2 pieces that could potentially be much better. I don't know that Klay Thompson is ever going to be a different version of what he is now, but if he's 10% healthier, he's still a huge part of that core.
Big part. Yes, he is.
He's mentally a great player. He is an experienced player. So the core of this team, when you start getting into the outer layers of the bench and all of that, like that's a different conversation. But the core of this team coming back, I feel comfortable saying I could give them 1 more year before tossing the dirt on them.
Well, and that's...
Wait, real quick. And it's different, though. You talked about all, like, the Sean Livingstons and the Iguodalas. Well, they changed the formula a little bit. They bring in Wiggins to be actually one of the best players for this team. And then last year against Boston, he was the 2nd best player on that team, which I didn't think he would do, like play that well. Yeah. Jordan Poole, having a guy off the bench to come in there and give you, like, starter minutes on offense, we never seen nothing like that. So I get what you're saying as far as that core they had, but that's all about adjusting. And it's a new dynasty put together.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.